What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Keith and Mike Watch Deep Space Nine. Today we are talking about Season 3, Episode 18, Through the Looking Glass, and we're going to begin today with an intervention. I think on both of us. First off, I will have to cop to the fact that, Mike texted me this morning, I have a little question about the thing about, the episode order in the Deep Space Nine companion book that he so generously acquired us both a copy of. And I immediately responded with an all-caps Trumpian screed, "Get away from the companion, you idiot!" I was
There were moments I was fired from the podcast this morning, folks.
You were briefly fired from the podcast for continuing against everyone in the world telling you, Mike, stay out of there. He can't keep his grimy mitts out of the companion. So my intervention is maybe I don't need to start with an all-caps screed screaming through the phone.
There's movement here. You did apologize, which is really, I didn't expect that this morning. But I've just been reading the summaries.
You get the summaries from your eyeballs by watching it.
Yeah, but sometimes I watch it really early and then think twice and think to myself, what just happened? Did Ben Sisko just bang everybody?
This episode is as horny as you. But before we get into that, we have to talk. You're going to have to put down the companion because.
Keith, my gray hairs are just everywhere.
They're just starting to fall out.
Yeah.
This entire show is about watching your joy and surprise of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Mm-hmm. That is the entire premise of this whole thing, is watching the show again through your childlike wonder. If you spoil it for yourself.
Keith, what I'm about to say is actually quite true, even though it started in my brain synapses as a joke, but as it's filtered through all of the different processes of maturity and adulthood into my mouth balls, it's become actually a pretty salient point, I think. Not only am I watching it with my childhood joy, I'm watching it through your childhood joy. Because
100%, yeah.
Because right now, companion included, we have the world of the internet, the world of fandom, and I'm loving Deep Space Nine, 3 seasons in, and there's so much. What we like to do now in present day is when you like something, you obsessively read about it. You find all the things, the interviews, the this or that. Not only that, because we do a Deep Space Nine channel, my algorithms, if I'm not logged into the right YouTube,
oh yeah, God,
it's just feeding me everything in every interview, and I want to watch. This is what I want to do, but I cannot because of this, basically. But that's what you were in the 90s, outside of talking to Uncle Jim here and there to learn some stuff, or maybe getting a magazine, or you didn't know.
There was no information.
You had to get a newsletter. This is even before the internet zines. Remember zines, Keith?
Yeah, no, I mean I subscribed to the Star Trek magazine for a while.
Okay.
But I think by now it had already lapsed. So yeah, I was getting literally no new information live here. So yes, we are time traveling with the eyes of a child out of the wisdom of mouth balls.
Lastly, before we move forward, another thing, I keep having these moments. I mean, I'm part of a Star Trek channel now, so I guess I'm in.
You're very much in, buddy.
But I'm watching the show this week, and I'm like, oh, is that Tuvok from Voyager? And then I'm like, who are you?
It is really...
I knew that. I knew his name. I pulled his name.
And how?
I don't even watch
you've seen
Voyager.
Like an episode or two, right? Haven't you?
Yeah. Someone asked me on the channel, what was Mike doing when not watching TNG in the night? That was a time.
You had like friends and stuff.
I was in a band and I was doing a lot of stuff, but I caught enough TNG to be very familiar with the characters, but that's about it. Voyager, maybe one or two, but yeah. Anyway.
Well, if you didn't spend the 90s headlining a ska band, then you know some of these things. But here's the thing about the spoilers, because
it's pretty messed up that I haven't gotten totally spoiled, because you said there's some really bad ones in there.
Because I mean, the companion is based on the idea that like you've seen this, you bought the book, which means you've definitely seen it all. So it'll like casually drop in a season 7 spoiler into a paragraph about some Quark episode from season 2.
Well, in the intro, if I'm not mistaken, when I started reading it, I thought it had been implied that said person, Terry, who we're not sure Terry's sex or gender, Terry was implanted with production from the beginning, and so I just assumed that these notes were contemporaneous and were being written as but it's clearly an after.
No, and so like, oh yes, well this thing just happened, and here's how it spoils the entire final season.
All right, so
yeah,
you know,
we're about to get into it.
Delusions, who usually gives me my spoiler warnings.
Yes.
Am I safe to read the summaries, or should I just stay out of the companion entirely? That sucks, man. I spent money on that.
Well, and you can enjoy it all
6 years from now.
When we finally finish Deep Space Nine, you can peruse and think about it. It'll be a wonderful refresher to the journey that we went on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, are we still friends? There's so many questions. Did Keith's new parody musical take off and he left me in the dust? What has happened?
No, I would never leave you in the dust. You're more than welcome to come see the show at full price.
Listen, it's just not good for the industry to give comms.
No. Yes, and you know what? Speaking of delusions and spoilers, here's like, oh, I'm playing dumb. Like, I'm just reading it, whatever. These are the first 6 words of Delusion's comment from 2 days ago. Be careful with the companion this week.
I really did not see any spoilers in it this week. But I didn't read the commentary, just the synopsis.
You know what? You need to put the book under your bed.
Mm-hmm. I was also very confused because it was out of order. I thought I had watched the wrong episode. I was like, what did I miss? I was really upset. I thought I'd thrown it all into the kink into the works. No,
well, what happened was, and it's actually in trivial. I'm just going to spoil it now since we're talking about it. The following episode, they didn't realize until too late this needed to be a 2-parter.
Mm.
So they then shot this one. They couldn't stop production on this one. They couldn't make it a 2-parter fast enough, so they had to shoot it out of order in order to make that connective tissue. And then they just shot, and then they just dropped this one before the next 2. So anyway, that was not a very good explanation of that at all. But y'all know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So it might start kicking off.
TV.
It might be kicking off pretty soon. But before we look forward, Mike, we must look back and look at our viewer ratings from last week's episode, Distant Voices. And here they are. Joshua Cronin gives it a 70, very generous. Jason Moe, boom, smack down with a 57. Delusions gives it a 67. JD with a 55. Worf's Boot Shifts with a 71. And coming in with the super tip, you can always join Sans Deity with we'll read your comment. And there's stage directions in this one, I just noticed. So pretty excited about that. So you can leave your comment with a super tip and we will read it on air, stage directions included. Sans Deity says about last week's episode, Distant Voices is an apt title because I felt my feelings for it somewhat mirrored what happens in the episode itself. I can hear vague whispers of a great plot, but they're out of reach. I wish they had gone more Herman's head on us. Great reference.
Very cool.
And explored the various parts of Bashir's personality and his vulnerabilities and strengths. I think that's what they were trying to do. They just forgot to, do it.
That was there was an attempt, maybe?
Yeah. The different personality thing just seemed like a cheap way to get some of the other characters involved. Exactly. I also didn't really like the way they matched up some of the characters. O'Brien as Fear, Dax as being the one aggressive without thinking. They should have matched up the people better. Also agreed. But, of course, Garak plays his aspect perfectly, and this episode is saved from complete mediocrity by having Garak in it. There are 0 bad episodes with Garak. Any chance of skipping the Mirror episode for improbable cause? Insert Mike saying, it's improbable that's gonna happen.
It's improbable that's gonna happen.
Yes. And as a 41-year-old, I definitely laughed at the trope of turning 30 somehow being a terrible thing. Agreed. Especially for men. This episode is kind of meh to me, but it does have two things that save it from being much more forgettable. Garrick and the maturation of Alexander Siddig, who, by the way, fumbled Nanat Visitor. What the heck, bro? What the WTF,
Doesn't that
bro?
sound like a Wes Anderson joint? The maturation of Alexander Siddig.
It's uncomfortable already. Was he like na 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 hey 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 goodbye? Yeah, that's boo. But anyway, as Keith would say, this episode demonstrates how far he has come as an actor, and I loved seeing that. So it gets a bump up in stem bolts, and you better believe they are self-sealing, and gets a 69 from me. Oh my! And please do that in your best George Takei voice. May take a voice deepener. I got you. Sorry, one last thing. My childhood cat, who I loved more than anything, was named Charlie. So give him a forehead butt for me, and that Sans loves him. You damn right I will. My childhood cat was also named Charlie, which is why this cat is named Charlie. And when do you guys usually record these things? I was a bit late in my comment this week, and I want to make sure in the future I know when the deadline is to make a comment. Well, guess what? You came in 20 minutes before we recorded this.
Yeah, generally Tuesdays we do Deep Space Nine.
Usually Tuesdays. If we're feeling really feisty, we sometimes go on Mondays, but we're very unlikely to be going before Monday.
Yeah, it's not always. Frisky is not our general state.
Frisky. Yes. All right. Well, you know what all that adds up to? That adds up to an average of... I didn't write it down. I did all of that stalling. Oh, there it is. 64.83. And you want to know who's the winner? Mike, it's you.
Hey.
You came in at a 65. I was at a 63. Both of us.
I'm the
very,
king of
very
crappy
close.
episodes, Keith. Actually, I wouldn't say crappy.
Well, it was not. It was not peak DS9. It was not even good DS9.
We're not angry. We're just disappointed.
It was. I would say it was below average Deep Space Nine, but not horrible.
You know what it was? It wasn't full crap. It was old guy crapping his pants. Crap.
Okay, this aired. Yeah, nice. Really, really firing. So this episode, Through the Looking Glass, season 3, episode 19, if you're counting at home, or 18? Is it 18 or 19?
This is why I was confused. Yeah, this is why Mike was confused. He broke the show, but he didn't. Turns out somehow.
Wait, hold on. What does IMDb say about the? Did I just screw that up, or do we have discrepancies?
According to our writing, our episode nomenclature, this is 19.
19. And I just screwed up the graphic. All right, well, kids playing along at home. This is like a factory error here, so this episode will be more collectable.
No, that's a good
point. It's
point.
actually season 3, episode 19. It aired on April 17th, 1995. And this is such an appropriate thing. I believe Sisko is singing this song this week.
Keith, quite literally, because there's only one thing more annoying than me doing the pitch-up voice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a summary of the tune in 3 times speed.
Yeah. We found out how Sisko does it. Montel Jordan's This Is How We Do It. Naturally, the top movie, week 2 of Bad Boys, coming in at $11 million this week. We weren't doing it because we're not bad boys. Mm-hmm. We were in fact watching TV tonight. What were we watching?
Keith, Bad Boys, I never saw, to be honest with you. It's one of those films, and I never saw the sequel, and I think they're making a third one, if I'm not mistaken.
I think there's at least been talk of it.
Yeah, I think once they release Will Smith from media prison, he's allowed to release that movie. Keith, not nothing jumping off the charts. The ABC Monday Night Movie was James A. Michener's Texas, 1995, part 2 of 2. The Marshal was new on ABC. That was a show that was happening. I forget who starred in The Marshal. I want to say it was Walker, Texas Ranger, but it was not. They're not the same thing.
Well, I mean, it kind of was.
Yeah. The Nanny was on repeat. Dave's World was on repeat. So CBS was running repeats in this April. Melrose Place was a lot of repeats happening.
Yeah, it sure was.
There's a show on Fox, Keith. Never heard of it, called Medicine Ball. Have you heard of Remember Medicine Ball?
Nope. I didn't have Fox at that point.
Well, they were running Medicine Ball, and the episode title got me. It was called Smoke Gets in Your Thighs. So, nice one. Nailed it. Star Trek Voyager was on, followed by Pigsty, followed by Platypus Man. And Keith, just because I found it interesting, I thought, if you were just like checking out, were you a Letterman guy or a Leno guy?
Letterman, for sure.
Yes, me too. Who, just like, this is fun to check in once in a while. Who was like randomly on Letterman on April 17th, 1995?
Good call.
It's weird to think of this person being young, because in my brain, he's always forever young, but turns out he was young actually at one point. How do I turn it on? There we go.
Yeah.
So they had 5 different dogs that were all guys to do the tricks. I guess that the male
have 5
dogs,
different polls.
Male dogs are smarter or something like that, right? What did you say?
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. What are you doing? The male dogs are smarter? Is that what you said?
I don't know. That's supposedly one was for the tricks, one was for the expressions, and this and that,
sure.
right? So they had a big pregnancy scene where
I
Lassie
guess,
was giving puppies.
Wow,
and,
I was just pulling up. I
guess we just canceled DiCaprio.
Oh my God.
He hated female dogs at the time. So.
Apparently, yes. Well, the Marshal from 1995, which only survived 25 episodes, starred Jeff Fahey as Deputy Marshal Winston McBride.
Okay.
So
cool.
There you go. It had some really good rated episodes.
How long did it run?
25 episodes.
Well, one season.
Only one. No, there were 2 seasons. There were 2 short seasons. But yeah, I mean, weirdly, they're pretty high in IMDb. There might just be okay. Well, they're ranked very high in their episode ratings, but the most of the episodes are rated by fewer than 10 people.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
It's
the old Out of Practice podcast.
They get the oopsie bump.
iTunes ratings.
I think.
Yeah, we've got 5 stars. Oh, it's just Keith's mom. Okay.
Yes, I think it was Jeff Fahey and Jeff Fahey's mom who rated the episodes. So, all right. Well, fair enough. Anyway, Voyager was off this week.
What April? Why are we off in April? Spring break?
It could be spring break. I think we just came out of sweeps or going into sweeps. I forgot.
Good podcast. This is good content. Okay.
Oh my God, we're really nailing it today. Somebody should in the
in our what does it say in our companion?
In the K&M companion.
Keith had a stroke the following week. Spoiler.
Oh no.
Stroke of genius.
There you go.
And wrote a Broadway musical and became famous.
And then charged Mike full price.
Yeah. Interestingly, the entire K&M empire ended.
Please enjoy the
what
full
would these 2 do
price.
with actual time on their hands?
Oh my God! Yeah, if we had actual time and money, that'd be impressive. Realized I still had my chroma key on, so every time
that's why you were
green in the
frames,
background.
Yeah. Interesting.
All of a sudden, it went gray. It was fascinating. All right. Anyway, where are we? Oh, the hard news. The hard news from the weekly. This is not how you do it. Here in 1995, we were already terrified of Y2K because December 31st, 1999 is Judgment Day? Possibly.
Keith, true or false? Y2K ended up being maybe the biggest nothing burger of all time. Like the biggest, most duddy, wet fart of all time.
Yeah. If you don't count some of our shows.
Well, we were never hyped like Y2K was hyped.
That's true. Yeah, people were not like starting to build bunkers to survive.
All right, what else we got? A panel of the world's foremost Bible experts answer the question of the millennium.
Yeah.
What is
Those
that?
are some
what is the
expert-looking folks there.
Oh, is the question of the millennium, is it Judgment Day? Okay.
Is it Judgment Day?
Oof, not the best work here on Weekly World News.
Well, but like, hey, that got traction. This was 5 years before. Remember, like, we're all really freaked out, like, coming up in a few years.
Okay, so Keith, those photos down there of their 5 experts, their most Bible experts, are those just stock photos, or are they staff that they, like, doctored up the pics?
That's a really good question, because I imagine if you're on staff, you'd be in that a lot. I bet it's like the staff's relatives, like, oh, that's Aunt Petunia.
Yeah.
Does she know that she's on the cover of Weekly? No, just don't tell her. She won't know.
I actually really enjoy when I go to a thrift shop or a swap meet or an Antiques Roadshow type of scenario, especially outside ones. What are the garage sales? Sorry, I couldn't come up with the term there. I like to look through people's old family photo albums that they like donated to a thrift shop, thinking, you know what, someone might want to buy this, someone might want to have this. And truth be told, I think I mentioned on the show,
there are creeps everywhere.
I have a pal who's a set dresser, a professional set dresser for commercials and TV and film, and it's literal lifesaver, because apparently once you donate those,
I was going to ask, like, what's the legality of that?
You can be on. They can use them for whatever. But generally, they don't put them. They try not to use them direct on camera. But they're, you need to have a photo album out and stuff. It's
interesting. Well,
and there's a whole. It's either a TikTok or one of these a channel that has good ideas, very niche ideas that actually are people like. Like we tried to do one time.
We should try to do that someday.
They just go through TV and media, like schlock TV and even sitcom, and just find how many set dressers. They just look for scenes where set dressers just used frames with the models in the frames without even swapping the pictures, and it's prolific.
Or a framed picture of a fork. You know what I mean? You know what I mean.
All right.
All right. So, that's interesting. This episode is directed by Weinrich Colby, who last directed Blood Oath, with a teleplay by Ira Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolf. Now it's time for just a little soupçon of everyone's favorite segment.
Maybe. Nope.
Maybe. Now, Keith, waste your time with trivial trivia. Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to reduce, reuse, recycle, and say that this was filmed out of sequence after Improbable Cause, because they didn't know it was going to be a two-parter until it was too late to change the schedule. So Improbable Cause, might be some stuff going down. Pretty excited about it. The interior of the Raider that we're on in this episode are naturally redresses of the Runabout and Defiant sets, changing the lighting, and actually, especially on the Runabout bridge, which is when they're flying, they just swapped out the graphics and put them in from Star Trek 6. So they borrowed some old-timey graphics, which would make sense, right? So if they're cobbling together parts from older ships, why wouldn't they have the iOS from Star Trek 6?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty fun. Mike, you want to know what else is pretty fun?
Donating to the show? Yeah, I'm starting.
No, our patrons.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Donating to the show.
Oh, I didn't hear donating. All right. Mike, why don't you tell us all about now?
I don't know what's happening. Keith, did you know that you can support this nonsense? And we are so thankful to those who do. Patreon.com/KNM. You get all kinds of goodies. You get all of our podcast versions of the shows in one RSS feed. You get fun extra things I just throw up there because I'm a person with no friends and a lot of time on my hands. Brian Kimber, Beer Sock, Casey Clark, Jason Moe, Andrew Hayes, Jorge Navoa, and the Mysterious Household Wharf, Big Ol' Moochivs, Charles Babbage, Richard Coleman. But by the way, I've lost it. CRM Productions, Nikolay Ivanovich Lobachevsky's Delusion News, Steve Brown, welcome to the family still. YouTube viewer, we're loving that you're here. JD May, Colin Dagan, Chris Mitchell, CRM, Pat, Joshua Cronin, thanks for sending us stuff. Joshua's having one heck of a vacation, it looks like, on the social medias. And you can join the team, help finance all of the work we're doing, patreon.com/KNM. We appreciate you. We love you. Bottom of our heart. Mean it.
By the way, I've lost it. In the middle of this. That's great.
No, I had like a joke and then I couldn't remember it. I had thought of it and forgot it in the same moment.
Our guest stars this week include Andrew Robinson as Garrick, Felicia M. Bell as Jennifer, Max Grodenchik as Rom, Tim Russ coming in with a little cameo as Tuvok from Star Trek Voyager, with John Patrick Hayden as the Cardassian Overseer, and Dennis Matalone as the Marauder, the stunt coordinator. Dennis Matalone working his way into the show with his second appearance as the eyeball gouged dude in the Mirror Universe. Which means it's time to hop into our screening room, huh?
Ba 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 ba.
Okay. See, sometimes the bumpers are handy because I have some business to do.
Yeah, Keith he's on the apps.
The apps, yes. I use my
Keith,
bumpers.
Do you see what I'm doing here? It's a horny episode. I'm trying to keep it horny.
It is the horniest of all. Yes, no, hold on. I need to RSVP to the next workshop of the upcoming Broadway show, Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Mm-hmm.
When should I go?
I don't know. Am I invited?
Oh, good Lord, no.
Well, then I don't give a crap when you go. If it's not on a time that I could accompany, then I don't really care.
No. Well, would you like to invest in the show?
How much they need?
Well, I'm looking to bundle about $250,000.
All right, I'll give you a 20 bucks.
It's like your cold brew budget. We should be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Good.
There we go.
All right. So in our teaser, Odo has caught Quark and Morn getting ready to stage Vol fights. Armin does a hilarious take, blaming Morn for it all. Avery does an amazing only Avery Brooks take about replacing the Vols with goldfish. It was really funny. I like that take. Then O'Brien arrives wearing civilian clothing, but then he pulls a phaser out and abducts Sisko and takes him to the transporter pad. Security continues to be flat terrible on ops.
No one even really gets excited.
No, they're just sort of like, whatever. It is really strange that we're in a war, right? Like, can you imagine like not having really locked down ops? But then again, it's the same thing with the Enterprise. The Enterprise D gets stolen like every other week by like one dude in a crayon. But
one dude
it's what happened.
and a crayon.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you got the shot, but one of those Bajoran extras has some truly unfortunate pants.
No, I don't think I'd call it. No.
It's coming up, hopefully. No, you missed it. Well, anyway, if that was my one chance to be on TV and we only saw the back of me and I was wearing those pants, it's like, it's not quite, this person's a perfectly normal person, but like, instead of cankles, he has like kegs. Like the whole thing. It's not good. Anyway, O'Brien waves a device over the computer and they beam out onto a cool looking ship.
Yeah.
In the Mirror Universe. So, Mike, were you excited to have another Mirror episode?
Yeah, I had to remember what was the whole deal over here. It wasn't until Sexy Kira appeared that I remembered just about everything. She really jogged my memory. But yeah, cool. It's an escape. It kind of takes the pressure off of what's going on in our sort of metaverse. But I will say that I put on my spectacles, Keith, when this happened, when I learned Mirror, because I wanted to chiggity check you a little bit. Because I remember in one of our recent Strange New Worlds episodes where we had a sort of Mirror Universe type episode where we went to a storybook land, and you gave it a lot of crap because you wanted the story inside, even though it was self-contained, you wanted that story to tell a tale and to be important and to make sense, I guess, plot to beat. And so I followed this one to make sure that it checked the boxes of those criterion so that I could either put you on phaser blast or say, hey, you know what? This did it better. And so we'll see how it fares as we go along.
Oh, yes. Well, it's very different in my book because the Mirror Universe is actually happening.
Okay, fair.
And it does have story continuity within itself. So that last episode we went to the Mirror Universe has had an effect on this episode, and it actually it has its own purpose for being. Like there is a continuing story there. The continuing story has a message.
But it does not appear as though the Mirror Universes are intrinsically linked in any sort of way. Does that make sense? What happens in one doesn't seem to be affecting the other, or contingent upon the other.
No, they're entirely separate universes. It's the multiverse. Like it could have gone this way, it could have gone that way. We're just peeking in.
And it doesn't seem like anything we do or don't do over there is affecting. There seem to be interesting.
Well, it doesn't affect our universe. It very much affects theirs.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to. Some of the parallels that are interesting, like Jennifer's dead in our universe but alive there, and Avery had to die here, doesn't seem to be connected. But I'm probably overthinking it.
No, I mean, yeah, I see where you're going. As if like one would affect the other. They're running parallel. They're not connected. So only now in Act 1 does Sisko take the phaser from O'Brien, which if it was so easy to take the phaser, he easily could have done that before getting onto the transporter pad. So, did he want us?
He was bored.
Well, I guess he's like, I got nothing to do today. Yeah, we already shot the episode. Let's go to the Mirror Universe.
Oh, he read the script. Fun. He was like, I got to do some banging, so let's get with it.
If he knew what he was in store for, he would have been like waiting by the transporter with snacks. Anyway, Sisko already knows where he is, which saves us all on a history lesson, both in the show and in real life. We learn that Mirror Sisko and Mirror O'Brien started a Terran rebellion against the Klingon-Cardassian alliance.
That's right. We rescued O'Brien last time. He came.
That's right. So the consequences of the last Mirror episode. Now we literally inspired a rebellion happening, which is cool because like the Mirror Sisko, we remember sort of like the trauma that he had gone through and how trapped he was, and like what were the consequences of calling his attention to that, giving him some agency. Well, this is what happened. So that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
However, he got himself killed. And now Mirror O'Brien is here to ask our Sisko to temporarily replace him, just for one last mission. There's a Terran scientist working for the Alliance about to develop a scanning system that will expose the rebels. His mission is to talk her into switching sides, and then we see the picture. It's Jennifer, his dead wife, and she's not dead in this universe. Cool.
Super cool. I was thinking all kinds of production stuff. Like, did they promise her in that pilot, hey, if things go well, we'll find a way to bring you back? Was it like a fun call she got from her agent? Wasn't expecting it. 3 seasons in, all kinds. More revolves around the actress than anything else. And also, how will Ben respond? The only time we saw Jennifer was in a really traumatic moment, and also in the weirdest romancing montage of all time. So,
well, yes,
remember the bathing suits and the future beach and all that.
Wow! Yeah, that was it. Yeah, no, it was classic. But certainly, like this is what a fun episode this must have been for Avery.
Oh yeah,
for like the obvious reasons, but also like the challenge of like seeing your dead wife again, and like how do you interact with that? But it's not her; it's her. It's interesting. But we learn that if he can't get her to switch sides, they're gonna kill her. So stakes are high, even tangentially for our real Sisko. So we head to the Mirror Deep Space Nine, and Intendant Kira is making out with a hot guy and a hot lady when Mirror Jennifer arrives. Kira says, "I've got news about your husband. He's dead." And Jennifer's wearing an Earth pin which is interesting. I wonder if it's a way of identifying humans, which obviously there's some pretty dark subtext in that case. I'm assuming it's going to be something like that, although everybody seems to wear some sort of a pin. I don't know, unclear, but certainly if they've been subjugated and enslaved,
the illusion is clear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dark. So O'Brien's ship flies through the Badlands as he and Sisko keep discussing the situation. The Badlands that Voyager just got sucked out of to begin their journey home. So he's going to beam with Sisko down to the Rebel base, and he needs him to keep his cover there. So none of the other Rebels know that this is fake Sisko.
I love that they're kept the Rebel call terminology, and also because the shooty shoot sequence at the end, I was like, if you just stick those people in white stormtrooper uniforms, you have a sort of generic Star Wars episode here.
It is kind of Star Warsy. Yeah. Although here's my I'm going to plant the seed of a wormhole. Maybe you have a good answer for me here. Why do we need to keep our cover with the Rebels?
You mean with Avery?
Why do Why do is it because they don't like Sisko is their like great leader and they'll lose hope if he's gone?
Are we talking about it now?
Let's talk about it now, I guess.
My assumption is I was reading a little bit of a potential power-hungry Bashir guy here. And I think the fear is maybe if they find, you know how like if you take a strong leader out, there becomes that power vacuum. And I think maybe O'Brien and they're fearful of what happens if Bashir takes charge. Perhaps he's a little loose cannony, so they want to keep up the belief that Sisko's there and in charge, even though he is dead as hell. But I guess at the end of the episode they make him go on he's going on an away mission, right?
Well, right, yeah. So he has to go anywhere. I guess whether maybe I guess if they're afraid of Bashir is going to be like, oh, let's forget this mission and go do something else.
Just kill her. I think they were keen to just kill her, and I think O'Brien recognized the strength of needing her.
This would be the only way to not get her killed. All right, I'll buy it. Thank you for closing the wormhole.
Right. Thank you. You're very welcome.
You nailed it. So in the cave set, we see Mirror Bashir and Mirror Rom discussing strategy when freaking Tuvok shows up. Rom is salty about Quark being dead and wants to attack. So, what was Bashir's point of view? Anyway, maybe it's wrong. Then Sisko arrives, and everybody is surprised that he's still alive. Luckily, Sisko saw his performance in the other show and knew how to act like a pirate Sisko. Because he picks up the beat immediately.
Maybe O'Brien. Well, let's assume O'Brien gave him the full character breakdown.
Yes, exactly. It's like, we have clips. It's amazing.
Look at that extra right there. She's like, I'm on Star Trek, take my picture. That is framed in a poster on her wall somewhere.
That is... And she's like lit.
She's like, should I look at them or right at the camera? Should I look at them or right at the camera? Which one?
And should I just step right in front of the light fixture we have here that's not for people?
Now I can't not look at her, and now it's becoming a little bit like that girl in that Smile movie, that the viral marketing. I'm going to have to change the frame. Okay, thank you. Oh, God!
Oh, my God. That is... yeah, that's pretty funny. So just for the record, folks, I'm gonna go on Friday, the 4th at 11.
Awesome, that sounds great.
That's gonna be my
I'm really excited.
I had to get that done. I got texted like you gotta pick your time.
I'm going to see Lisa Loeb and then the Lumineers.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I mean not by invitation. I had to buy a ticket, but you know.
Well, it's a workshop. There's no tickets at a workshop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
All right. Anyway, so we
Dax is here now.
Dax is here. Yes. Oh, okay. Yes. I scrolled down. It's bad. So Tuvok shows up. Sisko, yes. Then Mirror Dax comes in and kisses him. and says, "Come here." She's his mistress in this world. So which leads us to all the ethical quandary of what we do. Oh, no, we just do it.
Yeah. He's like, hit me again? Let's go.
So in Act 2, Sisko and Dax sneak off to a private cave, and Dax wants to get it on. Sisko stays in character, let's say.
Yeah, he shows her his deep space much more than 9.
I mean, it's impressive. Yeah, I mean, like, I had all the ethical questions about, like, is it really consent if she thinks you're somebody else?
But, in that episode where we were all horny for each other, and Barial was trying to bang everybody and whatever, she was all about him, right?
No, I mean, clearly there's some latent attraction there, so it's not, like, completely
And let's be honest, it's been, like, 5 years since Ben's been, except for that hologram girl.
Right.
So...
No, look, I'm not saying that I blame him. I'm just saying that there is a little bit of an ethical question here. But,
hold on. I mean, there's some pretty stark parallels here to those times in life, Keith, where you have to play a part. Sometimes you got to make out with me, and then sometimes you got to make out with a pretty girl. One of those, it ain't so bad. You roll with it.
Well, understandably, but in both of those situations, she knew who I was. It's like if you had a twin, right? And like, and your twin was married, and like you just like, and she was like, "Oh, let's do it," thinking that you were your brother.
Well,
you're like,
I mean, if we want to get ethical about it, sure. But if it wasn't my brother's wife, my twin brother's wife was my twin brother's mistress, and they shouldn't have been messing around in the first place.
My mom always said 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, but if you haven't been laid in 5 years, 2 wrongs make a right here.
Oh, let me be very, very clear. If it were me...
Yeah, well, there you go.
In a heartbeat.
It was for the good of the mission. That's, at the end of the day, that's all the commander can think about.
We're saving the rebels against the Empire.
And he's playing a character who's a sex-crazed pirate maniac.
Yeah, well, and mission accomplished. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Intendant Kira is yelling at Garrick. The ore is not getting processed fast enough, so she goes to do some random executions to motivate folks. He teases her about being in a bad mood, and he knows that she's sad because Sisko is dead.
Hey, Jim! Jim, I said we needed a little smoke! Just a little bit of smoke! Can you turn it off? Oh, no? No, it's just gonna be this smoky the rest of the time? Okay, thanks.
No, that's not how we're gonna do it. I mean, actually mentioned it in the companion, which you're not allowed to read, that Weinrich Colby really liked adding all the smoke to give it dimension and to establish that we're in the Mirror Universe. It's a very smoky universe. So Dax is still horny after having been clearly boned. She thinks the rebellion is a lost cause. But Sisko goes in there and...
Can you imagine those stage directions? And Terry Farrell does a bang-up job, but they're like, great. Could you just, like, rub yourself a little bit?
I
just,
don't
like,
know.
keep rubbing yourself. We're going to get a couple close-ups if you could just rub a little bit.
I can't imagine that would be in the stage directions, but that might have been, like, a Weinrich thing.
That surely wasn't an actress choice. We get it. She just banged, and she's feeling sexy, but, like, the weird slow touching was, like, felt so man directed.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what women are always doing, right? They just can't stop.
Oh my God! Somebody cut Keith out doing that. That was really awesome.
No.
GIF.
No.
Move on.
So
cool shot.
Anyway, he goes in and speechifies to his troops. Bashir does some, let's say, broad pontificating, doubting his plan. I doubt his plan.
He's got the Legends of the Fall wig on.
Wow. Yes, he looks like some sort of a Muppet with that hair. So O'Brien tells Sisko to hit him. So Sisko punches the stunt double, who goes flying before being very cleverly replaced with Alex Siddig without breaking the shot.
That's cool.
Which was, I went back and watched it again. Like, it's an obvious stunt double. He flies over, camera moves down. It's good work. They continue debating whether or not to kill Jennifer or to try to turn her. It feels a little bit like filler to me, this whole sequence here.
But I think it's important that we know that it's not so... Actually, what I think is a cool turn is that they have this debate, and we keep making it so... it feels like it's going to be so easy to turn her, but the truth is that that's going to be a challenge in its own right.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
I mean, it won't actually be. It's going to be one scene, but that tension has to be there.
Well, yeah, no, and it is a fair debate, right? I mean, it's yeah, I get it.
It's Oppenheimer, man. It's Oppenheimer.
It is definitely Oppenheimer. So back on Deep Space Nine, we see, Rom was a spy. And he tells Kira and Garrick that Sisko is still alive, and I can tell you how to get him. Dump, dump, dump. We begin back
cool shot
on the
Rom.
ship.
Cool shot.
Yeah.
It's great seeing him with a lot of agency, yeah.
And the performance of Rom is so different here. Mm-hmm. You know, this is like Dark Rom, like Dark Brandon. He's like, I'm all over this. So in Act 3, we begin with an odd beat about scratching something with O'Brien and Sisko, which we will understand later. I liked what they did here. They don't explain what he's scratching about. We just make a thing of it.
Yes, I obviously noted it because it was completely. It wasn't a. What do we call it? I always forget this reference. Schrodinger's cat? No. Oh my God! You're just gonna leave me to hang.
Like a MacGuffin? What?
No. You know the thing where it's like we mentioned the thing, so the thing.
Oh! Chekhov's itchy ear.
Chekhov's eczema.
That's right. Chekhov's psoriasis. Yes.
Moving on.
The musical.
Yeah.
Starring at NIF next year. O'Brien and Sisko fly towards Deep Space Nine talking about Jennifer. Both the Mirror Jennifer and Jen Classic. Then a bunch of ships decloak and take them prisoner. When they arrive on the station, Sisko immediately makes out with Kira. This is quite an episode for Avery Brooks. Mm-hmm. Also, it's interesting, like, what was their plan? How were they going to get on the station without the scheme that got them arrested?
No, I didn't even think about that. I guess they were going to... We didn't even learn what it was.
No, we never even addressed it. I mean, because obviously their plan was this. We learned later that this was all part of the ruse.
Unless...
Which I guess was the whole thing.
Is there any world in which... I'm trying to think back to the episode. Is there any world in which Rom was a double agent and they wanted him to squeal? Because that's...
Oh, yes. No, that is the plot. Rom is a triple agent.
Oh, well then what's the question?
I guess there isn't a question.
That's the answer. That was the plan all along.
All right. You closed another wormhole, Mike. You're just like slapping wormholes shut.
I got a pretty big one, though. That is my question, so we'll get there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so...
I don't know, ask Starbucks.
You heard it here, folks. Mike has got a big wormhole. In case you were wondering. But he's married. Sadly. All right. Anyway, Sisko talks himself into Kira's quarters against Garrick's objections. They discuss whether or not to kill him, when all she wants is his loyalty. Later, Jennifer comes in, and for some reason is able to dismiss Garrick to get alone time with Sisko, which I was confused about. Like, if she is a Terran and essentially a slave, even if you're sort of working with him, do you outrank Garrick in this situation? And can tell him to leave?
I don't know.
Okay, well, I was unclear about that. So Jennifer and Sisko bicker for a bit.
I think he's fearful at this point of Kira, so he doesn't want to do anything that could potentially.
Well, for sure. Yeah. Like, and yeah, no, he's obviously terrified of Kira, but He didn't even fight. It's like, okay.
Look at that interesting pottery just focally featured there.
It is. There are really cool little set deck things that they've added to the station to make it look more imperial. Like there's that weird like statue or the bust of something. Everything looks like it's made of abs. Like the statues have abs. That thing just looks like disembodied abs.
Yeah. I was thinking like it's like a abstract gargoyle.
It is. It's like
with abs.
It's sort of like an O'Keefean painting with abs.
Yeah.
Is what that looks like. Hey, well,
whatever does it for you. In fact, and if you're Sisko, everything's doing it for you. So.
Everything's doing it. Sisko's like, yep, I hit that. So anyway, Sisko and Mirror Jennifer bicker about the past. She's mad that he left her to play pirate for the Intendant. And he tells her, I'm here to rescue you. In Act 4, she says, nope, I got a job. And all
weird
she
commercial
wants...
break there. Just so weird, like in res. They
well,
just break the scene down the middle, but...
Yeah, I mean, I guess
why
they
not
didn't really
take the
have a
beat
lot
right
of good...
before the Jennifer scene, right? Like the first time he sees her, break, and then have the whole scene in one take, but...
That would make more sense.
Yeah.
I'm actually with you on that. Like, let him seeing her for the first time register on his face, then cut. Good call.
Keith, why aren't we show running something?
We should be show running this 30-year-old property.
I guess in some ways we are.
We're show running our own show, and we suck at it.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem, is we need to be someone else's thing.
Well, yeah, because like, you know, when people do the somebody and somebody watch Keith and Mike watch Deep Space Nine, and they point out all of our flaws, it'll be obvious to them, but it's not to us.
You know, that all said, and we point out our wormholes and all of the things. I will say this: I'm directing a show next May, so a year away, and it's still all I can think about in my downtime. I'm starting to like plot together certain things of what I need and what I want, what I buy, what I. That is a year away. Haven't even started pre-production on it.
Yeah.
But it's already filling this. Can you imagine doing this week to week, trying to film a bunch of these, and you're already behind? Oh my God.
Craziness.
It's insane.
Absolute craziness. Yeah. Insanity. Yes. The budget, however, and the staff are larger.
Yeah, it's helpful. You mean like more than zero? And
more than zero?
No one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Well, you know, I spend imaginary budget when I'm writing, so like it's I can do whatever I want.
Heck, we have like 13 patrons, and every week I'm like, oh my God, it's too many. I'm embarrassed.
Imposter syndrome. Yeah, 100%. Anyway, we learn her motivation in all of this, which is, I just want to stop the fighting. I just don't want people to get killed. So what I'm doing, giving them the scanner or whatever, is to try to stop people from dying. But he says, of course, the Alliance doesn't want peace. It wants to kill everybody or keep us enslaved. He says he's sorry for what happened before. And she says, I wish I'd never met you. You always want to hear that. He tries to get her to explain why she's working for the Alliance. Is it personal? Are you just doing this because you're mad at me? Which I think he was losing ground there, because that just made it all about him. But
I don't think he's totally wrong.
No, possibly not. And he explains that she's the same as the slaves. You just don't know it. And obviously there's a lot of subtext about slavery here that I missed as a kid. Mm-hmm. With having both of these characters be of color. And it's just like, oh, this register is a little harder than I thought.
Well, sorry, I don't want to get into a whole sidetrack about slavery, but one of the things, I started listening to that podcast you recommended, Keith, Behind the Bastards. And I was started with the Ocean Gate one, and they were going back to the founder, Stockton Rush was his name?
Yes,
his ancestors back in the 1700s, and they got to, they liked on that show, apparently they like to go back and look at who had slaves and who didn't, like, just,
right,
like, can't say you're a good person. The hypocrisy of slavery and the people who were abolitionists, that was kind of the interesting takeaway here. The
abolitionists who still owned slaves.
Yes. And how there's a well, I don't know the parallel I was trying to draw here with Jennifer, but yes, that she is still enslaved, even though she might think she has some power or agency.
Yeah, no, it is kind of a it's kind of a very clear line there. It's very, very delineated there.
Or that's the point where this guy was like, well, listen, keep working for me. I know you're a slave now, but when I die, I'm going to free you. And so,
Right.
okay, so I've rised above. But then you take a slave owner at their word, right?
Right.
Total hypocrite.
And then
oh, surprise, shocker.
Yeah.
No, I just bequeathed you to
Surprise.
my wife. Yeah.
Yoink. No. 100%. Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah, and good point, because, Kira's never going to release her. So, Sisko then hits his subdermal communicator to alert O'Brien. That's what the ear thing was. And he mentions...
It was a double tap, too.
It was a double tap.
Beep, beep.
Double tap. You got to pair the Bluetooth.
You know what? Good UX, good UX
Uh-huh.
UI is good. It's why we've been double-clicking since the beginning.
It's true. He mentions it was courtesy of the Ferengi. That's interesting. Maybe he's not a double agent. Maybe he's a triple agent.
So much agent.
O'Brien gets the message in the ore processing center. In the ore processing senator.
Yeah. Well, we assume he got the message. There's so much smoke you can't actually see him get it, but
He did the beep beep.
I also think that AI upscale doesn't do smoke good.
Yeah, but I mean, look, they're in an ore processing center.
That's true.
Like ore processing senator, as I keep saying.
Mm-hmm.
Those senators, they're pretty smoky. Like John Boehner is a chain smoker. Just like he's always crying through a cloud of cigarette smoke. And he sneaks off and zaps a panel. Sisko leaves his quarters and fights off the two Klingon guards way too easily. Then says the Klingons. This happened with Worf too. This is like a Star Trek wormhole forever. The Klingons we're told they're so badass. They're so fearsome. They've got two hearts and two bad blood. And every Klingon we see is totally possible to one punch two of them immediately, and they're out. Worf loses every battle he fights in all of Next Gen. Like every creature comes and just throws him around the bridge. Maybe they just have good marketing. Maybe Klingons are not so tough. Anyway, he tells Jennifer to pick a side. Let's go. And she says, all right, I'm coming, but I still hate you.
But then she makes this face.
Yeah, that's not an I hate you face.
No.
That's I want to give that guy the cold brew face.
I hate you, but are you you?
But are you you? Oh, are you the twin brother?
Because I am into twins. And twins! What was that commercial?
What? What the hell was that?
Wasn't
You
there...
said I was going to have a stroke.
Wasn't there a beer commercial that was like, and twins? Like, I love this, I love that. Hold on.
Mike desperately searches the internet for rescue.
Beer
Will Mike
commercial
be
and
rescued by the
twins.
internet? Because that's really something.
Coors Light, here's the football. Oh,
Wait, remind me one more time. What was the quote?
it's Coors Light and twins. All right, hold on.
So you realize
We're gonna get
every time-
demonetized.
I love playing two-hand touch.
Oh, I remember
Way
this.
too much. Watching my team win with the twins. I love
With the twins.
quarterbacks eating dirt. Pom-poms and short skirts. Fans who won't quit. And those twins. And
Oh, okay, sort of. There's a version of that where they're like, and twins.
Wait, I mean, the twin thing. You realize every time someone says I'm into twins, you're trying to have a threesome with twins. It's incest.
Keith, it's a beer commercial.
About incest.
And twins. I don't know why. And twins makes me laugh so much. It was really popular, that commercial. It was a big
I
campaign.
remember the commercial. All right, well,
And it was a bunch of like hot, sexy twins. When you think about it, you're right. It is weird and pervy, but beer commercial.
just think about you and your brother and some hot lady. And
I feel sorry for anybody who was trapped between my. I can't say this on the internet. Forget it.
Oh no, that's terrible. Whew.
And Nick.
I like one that's just salt, no pepper, and bald.
It works for you too, man. And Sean.
Oh God. Ouch.
I'm sorry, Sean. I just picked you. One writes musical theater. One studies germs.
Wow.
None of that is funny to literally anybody else. It's bald. We gotta keep going. Oh man, this is the best content we've ever had.
I'm so sorry.
Oh my god.
All right.
Ooh, Uncle Jim.
You're just like just saying random names now. All right.
Okay.
So,
Should I cut any of that?
no, that
Okay, I'll keep it.
It's like the 15th time you've cried on camera.
Oh yeah.
So, O'Brien face punches a Cardassian, then starts blowing up parts of the ore processing. He's staging a prison break. Sisko and Jennifer fight their way towards an escape ship. They join up with O'Brien and some of the workers to discover dead Rom stabbed into the airlock door. That's gotta be a sharp knife to go into the airlock door. Sorry, Rom. And Rom!
Dead Rom!
Yeah. There's more fighting. It's a lot of pew-pews.
A lot of pew-pews.
When Kira shows up and explains they figured out that Rom was a triple agent and you are now trapped. Jennifer has the idea to offer a trade. I'll keep working for them if you get away. Sisko says nah, and they head back for the ore processing center. More pew-pews, and they lock themselves in. Sisko has a plan, and that is, it's interesting that they go back to the ore processing center, of all the places. But I guess it's where they're most familiar? I don't know.
Well, they already had the smoke, you know.
Yeah,
A lot of cover in there.
Spent all that money on the smoke, so... Sisko has a plan. Hopefully,
well, I guess it's easier to get into, right? Like, they'd have to come up with some plan or plot to get into ops or somewhere else.
Yeah, I guess
or
it's
something.
not secured from the outside; it's secured from the inside. But Sisko's plan, hopefully, the design of the station is the same as on his side. Kira breaks in and finds them all waiting. Jennifer announces that she's turned to Sisko's side. I'm a Terran. Kira says keep Jennifer alive and kill the rest. But, of course, Sisko has a plan and says I've activated the self-destruct. Let us go or I'll blow up the station. And because he knows the codes from our universe. So by wonderful happenstance, the blow-up codes are the same in both universe, although there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah,
so
I don't hate that.
whatever the evil version of the codes. Mike, do you need like a moment?
I have very long, beautiful eyelashes, Keith, and when I cry, they get into my eyeballs.
I have very long, beautiful eyelashes, Keith.
I've been told, yeah.
And when I cry, they get into my eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, well, there it is.
Those are the words I said, yes.
Those are the words
I
you
stand
said.
by it.
Just one.
I have imposter syndrome about everything in my life except for my long, beautiful, luxurious eyelashes.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Everybody has one thing they're proud of.
Don't Google what type of mites live in your eyebrows and eyelashes. You'll never sleep again.
No. And mites! It's always there. If you count the mites, like every time, it's an orgy. There's a mess of them in there.
Oh, God. Oh. It's a good thing we don't live stream, Keith, because we would just talk for hours.
We
about
do
nothing.
talk for hours.
I know. That's the joke.
How is that different?
Oh, she's
So,
sad. Why is Jennifer sad? I forget.
I don't know. So he says, Sisko says,
Oh, boy.
I've activated self-destruct. I'm going to blow it up. The codes are the same. The plan
9
works.
minutes. 9 minutes he gave him.
Yeah. The plan works, and Kira lets them go.
Foiled.
But foiled again. Back in the cave base, Jennifer has figured it out. And there's actually like a beat that's very clear back on the station where we see her register what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
This is not her Sisko. She asks who he is. He says, ask Smiley. And she agrees to keep working to help the Terrans.
You know, I have a buddy I call Smiley.
Do you?
Mm-hmm. His last name is Smiley. Yeah.
Oh, I know Smiley. Yeah. So she agrees to keep working to help the Terrans. She kisses him and says, thanks for the rescue. That is the third ridiculously attractive person that Avery Brooks got to kiss this episode.
Although I will say that I think that's by intent and actually a very cool call that they don't have, because they could there's definitely, I thought there was a moment for a chance where he's like, okay, it's where O'Brien could be like, or Smiley's like, we're ready to go. And O'Brien looks back at Jennifer and he says, give me 10 or give me 15 minutes or something. That, they have a détente. But I think it's right that they show throughout the episode that he could be the consequences are nil for him to bang whoever he wants. But when it comes to Jennifer,
no, obviously that would be inappropriate. And besides, she's probably dehydrated at this point. But I will say,
I'm cramping up.
Avery's acting here is great.
Yes.
In this
the whole
final
episode,
scene,
actually,
you can tell that there are 7 different layers of feelings at the same time as he's saying goodbye to this Jennifer. Just subtle, because Avery's not always subtle, but this was really subtle and great. So he heads home, and that is the end of the episode, which means it's time to move along home, Mike. What do you say? All right. So it brings us to our very important question. Mike, were there any wormholes in the plot for you?
So the one kind of major wormhole that, it doesn't bug me, but it is a question I feel like I need to ask. Did we learn in the first episode how they do this? Because O'Brien seems to just kind of like casually stroll into the bridge. And we don't see actual O'Brien. Do they have a contraption that lets them go across?
That's his doodah in his hand that he waves over the console.
Do we have that?
I don't
think we would want to go over there, but it seems like a pretty terrible place for Terrans. There's like all the slavery stuff going on. It's very World War II-y. Like, when do we get involved? Like, should we go and, or do we let them have their own thing? Or do we have a pet? Should we beam them over? Seems, you know what I mean? Like, should we just rescue them? Can't we just have them over?
Well, that's the prime directive. It's interfering with another universe or another culture.
So there is tech. Do we have the tech? My question is the portal two-way to Mirror Universe?
The portal is two-way if we wanted to. Like, I'm sure that we could figure out a way to hop back and forth if we cared to. We just don't care to. And that question is something that production did talk about.
Okay.
And it is in the companion, which you're not allowed to read, talking about how they just decided to shorthand it, so we didn't spend like one act of every Mirror episode explaining how they got there.
Okay, that makes sense.
But we can trust that, the O'Brien, the Mirror O'Brien is very smart, is very tech heavy. I'm sure he was able to, once they realized that it existed, then they could he'd invent something to be able to hop back and forth.
Also, I guess it's a script thing. The only emotional beat that seems a little, when he sees Jennifer, when he talks to Jennifer, every interaction with Jennifer just feels a little too, oh hey, I know she's a different person, but I just feel like there's a weight there of seeing your person who got blowed up, basically. Again, I just felt like there seemed like a missed opportunity there to have it mean more, to be more impactful. But I don't know if it's a wormhole or it's just I wanted more. They
like a note for the episode. I agree. I understand that why they didn't, because Sisko is undercover right up until the very end. He's intentionally trying to look like this isn't that big of a deal to him. But I actually think your idea of moving the act break earlier in the scene probably would have accomplished that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because I think it's there on Avery's face a lot, but not quite as much as it could have been. Like there's, I agree with you. There's a missing,
because that's the challenge. Like you mentioned, kind of glibly earlier, that Avery just kind of plays the part and is able to fool everybody very easily and rides that line. And we can assume that, I guess, charisma and charm allows Sisko to be a very good actor. However, I feel like that would be the challenge for him. And they kind of set it up where he's like, it's going to be hard to turn her idea. And I feel like that should be harder for him. But I don't know. It's not really a wormhole so much as just
well, I mean, his competence rose above his feelings in that situation. But I would have liked to see him fight more. Yeah. I agree. Wormholes, like... do I have any actual wormholes as opposed to like notes for the episode? No, I don't think so. I mean,
maybe that's a new segment we need for season 4, Keith. I have notes.
I have notes. Yeah, well, that's what the final that's what the episode rating is. Yeah, no, I mean, it's we accept, right, that the Mirror Universe is this thing. I have all sorts of questions on, like, how did we get here? Like, what is, why is there Federation-ish tech? Was there ever a Federation? Was there not? And I know, like, this goes back to the original series where, there were, because the Terrans were the bad guys. Then it flipped, and the Terrans were enslaved. So, all right. So, sure. I mean, obviously, the most like questionable thing is the ex machina of the episode. Like, why are their codes the same in both universes? But there's a lot of other similarities there, and so if you're doing,
there's also a lot of stark differences. Like Bashir's a different character, is a different personality.
Yeah,
Sisko was a different personality. So,
but O'Brien is basically the same dude.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like in the Mirror Universe, like this is one that's pretty parallel to ours, like people's.
But also, it is a Deus Machina for sure. But there were no stakes if he gets it wrong, right? If he's like set, blah blah blah. Well, I mean stakes for them, but it's not like the ship would blow up if he didn't set the alarm. If he had been like, hey, Sisko code 123. And it was like, yeah, no, that's not the code. Well, okay, we'd come up with another plan. So it wasn't.
But like he only had X amount of time. Like they were about to be executed if that didn't work.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
So the stakes were all of them except for Jennifer were gonna die.
Yeah, but come on.
Yeah, but it's not gonna happen. Yeah, all right, fair enough. All right, let's talk about our best moment.
Man, I'm tempted to say. Well, let me tell you, actually. My fear going in was that the reason that when we cast Jennifer in the pilot, we knew we were killing her off, and so we cast pretty lady who wasn't maybe the best of actresses, and that, oh my goodness, if a big character is gonna be played by Jennifer here, what if that actress, like, is she gonna be able to cut it? Is it gonna be? And it wasn't. She was excellent. She's excellent. I thought she has the best beat change. There's a moment without any kind of spoken dialogue, anything, where they're in the corridor and she's in the Princess Leia, all the stormtroopers are over there.
Right.
You can see her recognize that this is one of these things is not like the other. This is not the Ben I know, and you can see it on her face, and it's just a great little shift, and it's just a great execution of nonverbal acting that we don't need to harp on. We don't need to. I mean, yes, we address it in the final scene, but I just thought it was a great moment, and it was a cool way for this actress who had been written off the show in the first episode to get asked back and really nail the episode.
Yeah,
and that was a good highlight of that. So I'll choose that for my best moment.
Yeah, no, I mean, it did a really good job.
Could we name check here one more time? I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, of course we can. It is, of course,
friend of the show,
Felicia M. Bell.
Yes, of course,
as Jennifer. Yeah, so for me, I think it's the final scene between her and Sisko, where, again, there's a couple of times in this episode where we could have gone back and explained a lot of things and skipped over it, right? Having to explain to Sisko, you're in the Mirror Universe. This is what's going on here. He already knows, right? And the same thing at the very end. It's like, so who are you? He's like, talk to Smiley. We don't need to see him explain who he is to her. And so that scene happens almost entirely with subtext. And I thought that she did a good job. I thought he did a great job with, all the feelings he's feeling in that moment, that they didn't feel necessary to lay it all out verbally. And I thought they did a really good job of that. So that final scene is my favorite moment. Which means we got to hand out some stem bolts, Mike.
Are they self-sealing?
Hell yeah, they are.
Here are some
Keith, actually, I'm going to start my stem bolt section with another wormhole, sort of. So, we've tracked through the plot that is taking place in the alternate universe, okay? And it pretty much, for the most part, checked out for us wormhole-wise. But what we didn't actually look to think about, and which this episode sort of leaves by the wayside, and I get it, it's kind of like a let's not think about it, is what is taking place while this is all happening in our timeline, on our side of the parallel universe, okay? You established earlier that you believe we have the tech to get over there, or at least
we could develop
the tech. Because from what just happened on our station is the captain, Sisko, who is also the emissary, who is vitally important in all of these in all of these
quadrant.
Yes, just got kidnapped. Right now, he might be real cool with it over there, but we don't know that. He got kidnapped by Phaser, by ostensibly O'Brien.
Yeah, there's got to be a lot going down.
There should be a lot happening. Right? Actually, I would venture to say that it's real interesting over there too. And I'd be really curious, at least if we're going to forget all of that, I'd be really curious in the debrief, because when they ask Ben what happened, there's some details he probably leaves out.
That's right. The debriefing with Dex. Yeah, so then, oh my God, you won't
Dex,
believe.
Yeah, that birthmark on your left ass cheek.
Yeah, you know what? I can't believe what you're into.
It's shaped like twins.
Like twins! Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that's confusing to me. Like, that's a convenient. Let's not mention
it. But on the flip side of that, I think had they burned half of the episode with them trying to figure out what would have happened, I would have been like, you know what? Like, what? We don't need that. Let's stay and tell the story.
I guess that's all to bring me back to that episode on the deep space, or on the stem bolt's best moment. Oh, I didn't take best moment out.
Yeah.
On the.
I hope the world understands the restraint that I just showed.
As he couldn't think of anything else. Over on the other show, Keith, where you were like, this plot has to make a lot of sense, and it's got time. I would say that there's some stakes left withering on the vine.
Which would be?
What's happening? Like, is anybody going to rescue Ben? Does he need her? Well, what's happening?
Well, I think it's fair to assume that they're working feverishly to accomplish that over there.
Fair to assume. Yeah, okay. So all in all, I thought the episode was cool. It's one of those episodes where I think they were much more interested in asking some fun questions, like, what could we do with our action figures today? Well, what if we bring back Jennifer and Ben has to play? We get to all play the different fun Mirror Universe things. It likes your face way too much, Keith. All the fun Mirror Universe things, and this time, and Ben has to face with his old wife, and let's see how that's happening. It's clearly an episode that's an excuse to let them all play their fun alter egos. That's cool. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. I think the setup for that is interesting. I think the conflict between this world's Maquis or the rebels is a little. The internal conflict is a little. Look, I feel a hard meh. It was cool. I thought the shoots were fairly interesting, if not nondescript. The Ben of it all, I think, is the best part. I think it's so clear when Avery Brooks is having a blast. It's so evident when he's just having the time of his life, and he really seemed like to be having here. And Kier and Nana is always excellent, and I think is it me? Am I wrong in thinking sort of Colm Meaney is the low-key MVP of this series?
Oh, always.
Yeah.
Always. No, that is not a surprise to anybody.
Yeah, it's not a hot take. He's just so excellent in literally everything they ask him to do. When it's difficult, when it's easy, when it's ridiculous, he's just so excellent. There was some really terrible wigs in this episode.
Ooh, awful.
I thought the small, subtle design changes here and there were well executed to kind of give the vibe of the different universe. All in all, I would say it was a fun Saturday morning cartoon-ish episode of Deep Space Nine. And nothing to hate, nothing to like fall in love with, except for I love that they just let Ben bang everybody, but showed restraint with Jennifer. I thought that was respectful. And the right move.
Because he was tired. He didn't show restraint anywhere else.
I think the difference is that he's got some latent attraction to these other people, so he's like, oh, this will be a fun side thing to do. And he hasn't gotten laid. I mean, he's a human being. But there's a lot of emotional. Well, here's the thing. He was able to bang. Sorry to overanalyze the banging. The Kira and the Dax, because at the end of the day, it's not them. It's not my friends, right? It's not them. Same thing with Jennifer. As much as he'd want to, it's not her.
Well, I mean, I guess this gets down to like it's almost the ethics of making your friends in the holodeck.
Sure.
Like it's not them, but it's also kind of them. Like it's not them, but your reason for doing it is because it's them.
Well, I don't know your search history, Keith, but the sexual id of human beings, in my opinion, in my experience, is weird and demented.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Who amongst us? Now, the difference is, can you show restraint to the actual person? That is what separates us from the cattle that just hump everything.
So now we know the line. Yeah. Mike will create his friends.
Yeah. Have I banged a few Robo Keiths? Yes. Is that what you want to know?
Have I bagged a few Robo-Keiths?
Who amongst us has not?
Wow.
That's actually the newest tier on our Patreon, patreon.com/KNM. At $25, it's banging Robo-Keith. Anywho. Yeah, I think this is get me my popcorn, I'll watch it. What if you were like, we could pick any episode of Deep Space Nine to rewatch? I don't know that this comes onto my list.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. I would say I'm giving it a C, and when I went through high school, a C was 70, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you talk about sort of the popcorn element of it. It's the Mirror episodes are almost as if we do an episode of Star Wars in the middle of Star Trek. And, where it's like, Rebel, Empire, we're fighting, we're pew-pews, and and that it's the stakes are both dire and non-existent at the same time. Because it's not our people. Like the body count is crazy high. We're
running out of people over there, right?
Yeah, like we killed off Quark, we killed off Odo, we've killed off.
There are no Ferengis left.
We've killed off Sisko. It's sort of fun. Look, it's fun to play in that sandbox. But I think it feels a little. It's hard to really latch into it and care, other than the fun of playing dress up. It's like we're LARPing Star Wars in Star Trek here, and it's fun. Like, and I don't mind. Like, let's hop in here like once a season and see what's going on with this other storyline. I don't mind that, actually. Like, it's fine, but it's not something that I really hook into and remember and feel connected to emotionally.
If we're gonna do something different, I much prefer, I don't know if, those weird scenes we said we hated in that scene where we were down on Earth, where Kira and O'Brien were in the 60s, and then we're like, if we're gonna do bizarre, if we're gonna do crazy, like, distraction episode, let's do fun stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yes. I don't mind I do like the darkness of it, though.
Yeah, and I guess there's a consistency to it that's nice.
And it has ties to the original series, so like I don't mind like, ooh, wow, things are really bleak, things are really dark here. But I think where it is most successful is when it ties to something emotional with our heroes. So having Sisko deal with the Jennifer of it all is by far the most interesting part of this whole episode. And I feel like I felt a lot through this episode that there was filler in there. We were having conversations that we already knew the premise of, that we'd talked for a little longer than we needed to, debating whether or not to kill Jennifer or not, whatever. They were just sort of rehashing the same ideas. I really would have liked to have spent much more time with Sisko and Jennifer dealing with the emotional wreckage that he's going through with this. We don't need the cave debate scene. We don't need him to hook up with anybody. If this were a two-hander with the two of them in a room and he's working through the emotional trauma with the stand-in for his wife, that was much more interesting to me than a lot of the stuff that happened here. So it felt a little fillery, but the more they can tie in our universe emotional stakes into the Mirror Universe chaos, the better the episode is. This episode, it's fine. It's fine. It's not going to be something I'm super excited about. I'm with you. I give it a 72. Like, it's not terrible. Like, there's some fun action stuff. There's some of the character stuff. Everyone's having fun. It just wasn't. It was there. It's there. It's fine. So, but next week we're doing Improbable Cause.
Okay, and that is a twoper.
It is. Yes, it is the first of a two-parter. So,
should I read the companion?
Oh, yeah, yada. Yeah. Well, you know what? Your companion and my companion, Mike. What are they?
They're twins.
That's right. All right. So, Mike, tell us what are other shows that we do?
Did this wet your beak? Are you like, where can I get more of this? Well,
yeah.
Thankfully, almost every day of the week, more of this hits the interwebs. God. On Mondays, we have a show called K&M Geekly. That's right below us. Yeah. That's a fun one. We just talk about movies we've seen, shows we've watched, mail we've received. It really goes wherever. Keith's mom loves it. On Wednesdays, this show drops. We talk it, and you can watch me watch every episode over on patreon.com/KNM. Sometimes my wife joins me.
You also get your Keith sex robot.
Yep, but she's weeks behind. She sent in a text, Keith, actually apologizing for not being up to date. Not to me. She wasn't apologizing to me or to you, Keith. She was apologizing to y'all. She says she'll be back.
I didn't get that text. What the hell?
She says she'll be back. And then on Fridays, we watch every episode of Strange New Worlds. Guess what, folks? We've ran out of Tarmac on season 1, so we are starting season 2 this week. This Friday. Don't miss it. You can also watch me watch every episode over on patreon.com/K and M. And then on Sundays, the show that started it all, look at my Star Trek toys. This weekend, we are doing part 2 of Christmas
Picardmas.
Picardigan in July. We never really zeroed in on that marketing campaign. What we're going to call
We're
it.
so good at what we do.
But just like Christmas, it's sure to disappoint you. And
And cause fights with your family.
yes, I think that's it for now. That's all of our shows. Check us out. We appreciate you. And if you don't have the money to become a patron, we totally understand. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. And if you listen to one of the podcasts, give us a review on your
Yes.
podcast service of choice.
For sure. Oh, and I almost forgot, but I didn't. Mike, out of the 173 episodes of Deep Space Nine, where would you put this one in the IMDb rankings, you think?
This would be episode somewhere in the 70s, midway point.
It was the 102nd best episode of Deep Space Nine, according to IMDb. We'll be back here next week with Improbable Cause. Can't wait. Till then, this has been Keith and Mike. Watch Deep Space Nine. Thank you for watching K&M Entertainment. If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe. Or become one of our patrons at patreon.com/KNM.